Hello class, this is your teacher Mr. McDougall with your next project tutorial. We are continuing with our unit in Photoshop. We're just getting started and we're going to talk about some basic features called adjustment layers. And remember, the point of this tutorial video is for you to be able to watch it back at your own pace in case you were absent during class when I covered it, or in case you got lost and confused and you need to rewatch some steps. So use this video to your advantage by pausing, rewinding whenever you need to in case you get stuck or lost along the way. I will continue to walk you through getting started in these, as well as how to download the exercise files. But after the first few lessons, I'm going to skip the whole downloading exercise files part because you'll have gotten the hang of it by then, and I just want to jump right into the tutorials. So let's download our exercise files so we can get started. Click on the exercise files. There's a lot to do right here, but that's okay. We're not going to do a ton of things to them. To download it again, you're going to go here to these dots, click on it, click open a new window. And then you'll see the option to download right here. Click download. Now we'll download it in a zip folder, which will be a compressed file for all of your files right here. So let's close this tab, back to the home page. All right, so if we go to our files and we go to downloads, you'll see here's our downloaded files right here. This has the zipper. We do not want the zip one. It won't be able to open. So first we need to extract them. Right click on this folder, go to extract all. And make sure this is not checked right here, and then click extract. And then you'll see a folder with the exact same name. However, this one does not have the zipper on it. This is the one that we want. And remember, yours will say your full name right here. It'll say your full name and then 502 exercise files. You might have yours in list form like this, or icon mode. You can switch back and forth. And if yours is crushed like this and you can't read the whole thing, you can always expand this right here. See where it says name and date modified? If I hover my mouse right in between on this line, I can click and drag and expand this menu in order to read the entire thing. So if you can't read what it says because the title is too long, just drag this out and it'll give you space to read and know you're on the right one. Remember, you want this one that is the file folder and not the zipped one. See how this one says zipped and it's got the zipper on it? This is the one we do not want. We want this one now. So let's move it into our Google Drive so it's safe and backed up. Click on Google Drive. You can move this menu out of the way. And let's put it in our drive so it's nice and safe and backed up. Intro to graphics. Let's make a new folder for this one. New folder. This one is 502 adjustment layers. And again, we just want to keep these organized so we know where to find them later. Perfect. Now it's backed up on our drive. Now we can open Photoshop and get started. Let's open Photoshop. Just like I covered in the previous lesson, I recommend having your space big. That way you have maximized room right here to start editing. In the previous lesson, I mentioned how the different ways you can open a file. You can go to File and then Open, or Control-O is the shortcut. Another way to do it, if you're on this blank page and you haven't done anything yet, you can go to your files and just drag and drop them in this space. So if I go here, Photoshop seems to be preventing folders from opening. Okay, here we go. So one thing you could do is go to your files right here. It's a weird glitch, sorry, I had to fix it. Go to your file menu and you can find your exercise files. So on this blank space right here, you can just select all of your files. If I drag and grab every single one of them and then I click and drag and just drop it right here, it will then open each one in its own tab right here. So that's another quick way to open. Again, in Adobe, there's usually multiple ways to achieve the same result. I like to show you each one, and you can pick and choose whichever works best for you. If you want to continue, go to File, Open, or Control-O. That is also fine. One thing you'll notice too when you have a lot of files is I can't see all of them. Sometimes they get cut off, like over here, or this one starts to get cut off depending on the space. If yours is, let's say like this, and you can't see everything, now I can't see all the files right here on the top, you can click these two arrows right here and it will show you all the tabs that you have open. So you can then jump to any one of them. So focus on these two arrows to find the one that you're looking for to get started. And again, I recommend having a maximized screen for this so you have as much space as possible. Let's go to auto number 1. On this one, I'm going to show you a few little tricks and how layers work in particular. By default, Photoshop likes to keep these windows and panels closed to maximize your editing space. However, I recommend having the layers or this entire panel open. If I click on layers, it opens this layers panel to give me space, or I can open this whole panel by clicking these little two arrows right here. This expands this whole side panel, which I think is good because we're going to use a lot of this on the side frequently, so I like to keep this open. So remember, you can open and close it with these two little arrows right here. Will open and close your panels. I recommend keeping them open for these first few lessons. So when you have a photo open, by default, it's called background. It's called background, and it has this little lock. You'll notice each one has that. And all of these, this is background and it's locked. That's to help prevent doing any permanent damage to the original file. So what we can do to start editing is to make copies. So if I right-click on this layer right here, right-click, I can go to duplicate, and then click OK. Now I have a copy of the background. See how it says background copy? The other way to make a copy is a keyboard shortcut that is Control J, as in jelly, on your keyboard. So if I hit Control and then J, it makes another copy. So let's make one more. So we have a total of 3 copies. I have 3 copies of my image right here. And you'll know which one you're working with by clicking on it and having it highlighted. See how it gets highlighted right here? This allows me to know which one I'm currently editing. Let's start with the top one. And we're just going to play with a couple features so I could show you how layers work. Let's go to Image, and then let's do Auto Tone right here. See how it changed a little bit? We can also change the name of each layer because at some point we're going to have a lot of layers, and if they all just say copy or the same word, we're going to get confused. So on the text where it says background, if you double click on the text, it allows you to change it. So let's call this one Auto Tone. And then we're going to change the others as well. Let's click on this one, come over here to Image. This one's going to be Auto Contrast. And then let's change the name again. Click on that one, Auto Contrast. And then lastly, let's do this one as well. Go up to Image and then Auto Color. There we go, Auto Color. And let's rename it. Double click on the text, Auto Color. So now you can see I've added these effects to all 3 of these copies. However, what you may have noticed is that when I did the auto tone, the image changed, the contrast changed and the color changed. But when I added these ones, we didn't see any change happening. And that is because of layer order. We only see the layer that's on top. This layer happens to be on top, so that's the one we're focusing on. So think of it as if you're looking down at something like a stack of papers. Like here's a stack of papers right here. Let's say this is my top layer. Here's my auto contrast. And then I have my auto tone and auto color and my background layer. You're only seeing whichever layer is on top. If I right now, if I stack these up, you can only see the purple layer. If I move it out of the way, now you're seeing the red layer. And if I move that out of order, if I'm changing the order of these, now you're seeing this layer. That's how layers work in Photoshop. I can take these layers, if I click and drag, I can move them around and shuffle the order. Now the auto contrast is the one that's on top. Or now I can move color to the top. See how if I change it, now I'm seeing this everyone on top. I can't see what's underneath. A way we can kind of hide it is to click this eyeball. If I click the eyeball, it hides this layer altogether. Now I'm not seeing it. So if I click these, now they're all hidden and I'm just seeing the original photo. Again, I'm seeing the background layer. This eyeball allows us to turn these layers on and off to see how they look visually. So you can see whichever one is on top. So right now this is on top, so this is the one I'm seeing, the auto contrast. We'll get more into masking and how to see through certain layers at some point, but this is the basic concept of layers, is stacking them over here. Whichever one is on top is the one that you're seeing. Okay? So next, let's go to the layer files right here. So you have layers. So if you go up to the top where it says layer 1, again, if you can't see it, click on these arrows and you'll see these right here. Let's go to layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4. We're going to work with all of these. So let's start with layer 1. We're going to take layers 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to place them right here. Similar to the previous lesson, we're going to copy, paste, or move files on top of each other. Let me show you how to do that. So let's go to layer number 2. Remember in the previous lesson, you can select the whole image by holding Control and then A as an apple. If you have your transform controls on, it will show you this, but if you turn them off, it will show you your selection. Whenever you see this, these ants marching around, that means you have this selected. So then we're going to hit Control C to copy it, and then we're going to come back to layer 1 and do Control V. Now we've pasted it on here like that, and you'll see we've added it. Now it's a new layer. This layer is on top of the background. I can move this around now. By default, your tool should be on the Move tool. This allows you to just grab things and move them around. It's the most basic tool. The most basic function is just clicking and dragging and moving things with the Move tool. Let's do the next one. Let's do layer number 3. Another way you can move it without doing the whole copy paste thing is you can just click and drag a file over to the file you want and then drop it in. So watch this. I'm just going to click drag and hold. I'm holding with my mouse. I'm going to click drag up here to this tab, layer number 1. Still holding with my mouse. I have not let go. Now I'm going to let go. And I've just dropped it in right there. So that's another way we can do it. And I can move these and line them up right here. Let's line them up side by side, and then I'll add the other one. And you'll see we have our 2 layers. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. One thing you'll notice too is you can play with the auto select option. By default, this is probably on, but if you're ever getting frustrated at moving things around, double check this right here. With auto select, it assumes the file you want to grab and it starts grabbing that one. See how I'm grabbing this and moving it around, or now I'm grabbing this and moving it around. If you have auto select turned off, it won't do that anymore, and it will only move whatever layer is selected right here. So I have layer 1 selected, which is this one. If I come over here and try to move this one, if I click and drag, it's still moving number 1 because auto select is turned off. It's moving whichever layer I have highlighted. If I want to move the middle one, I got to select layer 2, and now I can move it. If I come over here, it still moves that one because of auto select. So make sure this tab is checked. This one might give you some trouble sometimes, but it's an easy way to recognize if you're having trouble moving a particular layer. Check the auto select. All right, let's move layer number 4. So this one, again, you can do it however you want. You can do either of the 2 ways I just showed you. You can click, drag, and drop it up here on layer 1, or you can do Control A, Control C, and then come back here to Control V to paste. One thing you notice about this one, it is a lot bigger. So this one we're going to have to adjust the size a little bit. Or you can move it around. In order to see the corners to drag and drop, make sure the transform controls is turned on. See, now I have these dots and I can adjust the size a little bit like that by dragging it around. One thing I've been trying to show you right now with layers is we're doing what is called non-destructive editing. Non-destructive editing means we're trying to create duplicates or ways to protect layers so we don't cause any permanent damage. If you go back to this one, I duplicated and made these backup layers, and I have not touched the original. The original background layer is still safe, so in case I changed my mind about any editing or I realized I made a mistake, I can go back and start over without worrying about this being permanently damaged. There's several ways we can do non-destructive editing. Another one is to convert an object into a smart object. So this one's obviously big. Let's zoom out a little bit. Remember, hold Alt on your keyboard and scroll your mouse, and you can zoom in and out. And then hold the space bar to move around. There we go. Now I can grab this and move it, and I can adjust the size of this one. So a smart object will help prevent this from being permanently destroyed as well. Let me show you what that means. If I'm going to adjust the size, let's say I'm going to adjust the size like that to fit. Say I accidentally make it too small. I put it there and I go, oops, I made it too small. I want to make it bigger again. What I accidentally just did was crushed it, and I reduced the resolution rate, and you can see what I did to it. Now it's all pixelated and looks like Minecraft. That's not what we want. That would be bad. Remember, if you make a mistake, the shortcut that is going to be your best friend this entire year is Control Z. Hold Control, hit Z, and hit that as many times as you need to back up. There we go. See, now it's back to normal and it's not pixelated anymore. To prevent any permanent damage to it, we are going to come to this layer. We're going to right click on it, and we are going to go to Convert to Smart Object right here. Convert to Smart Object. What it does, it puts this little icon around it, and now it's made it basically put this protective layer around it, so any effects we add won't cause any permanent damage. So now that it's a smart object, I can drag and make it smaller. Let's see. Let's say I make it small again, like I just did. And I go, oops, I want to change it. I'm going to make it bigger again. It still looks fine. It didn't lose any of the resolution. The smart object is a way to protect it. And we'll go more into smart objects and what it can do. But it's a good idea when you're editing something to create it into a smart object just to protect it from any filters. But I'll explain more how that's going to work in some future ones. So I want you to just take all 3 layers, make sure you convert this one into a smart object, and then stack them in a row so they all fit right here side by side. Excellent work. Now let's do some more adjustment layers. Now we're going to go to this one that says levels. Go to levels. We're going to add some changes to this, but again, we're going to do it non-destructively. I don't want to just change the background layer itself. I want to add an adjustment layer so this stays stays protected and undamaged. So we're going to go down here to this bottom tab. Remember, have this open so you can see it. If this is collapsed like this, you won't see this tab down here. Have this open, and you can come down and see these menu buttons down here at the bottom. Go to this one that looks like a little half circle, and it says create an adjustment layer. Click on that, and the one we're going to do for this one is called levels. Go to levels, and you'll see this window pop up right here. The levels is similar to what we learned in Lightroom Classic with the shadows and the highlights. It controls the dark areas and the light areas. So you see you have this little histogram right here, which shows a chart, and I won't go into what this means, but we just need to focus on these little sliders right here. There's a little gray slider and a little white slider. If we slide these in, it controls the highlights and the shadows. If I click and drag this in, you can see the shadows of the image getting darker. Same thing with this one. If I drag this one in, you can see the highlights getting brighter. So we're just going to drag it in a little bit, just like that. What happens when I created that adjustment layer, you see this. It created a levels layer on top. So this, I changed the image, but I didn't do any permanent damage to the background. Remember, I can hide these right here. Here's the original untouched. Here's this cool edit that I made. But again, we did it non-destructively. I didn't permanently change the image in case I change my mind later on. So perfect, just like that. I want you to do the same thing for levels number 2. Do the same thing on this one. Go to the adjustments, go to levels, and then just drag the 2 side ones in. Let's drag these in to make the shadows a little darker, and let's drag this one in to make the highlights a little brighter. There we go. You see when it does that, it creates this layer right here that I can turn on and off, and I can see the original photo is untouched. Perfect. Let me show you a couple more adjustment layers and I'll let you get playing with it. The next one we're going to go up to the tab, we're going to go to Vibrance. Let's go to Vibrance number 1. We're going to create a Vibrance adjustment layer. And a lot of these you will recognize as very similar to Lightroom Classic. We got levels, vibrance, contrast, hue, saturation, a lot of features we noticed in Lightroom Classic that are going to cross over into this one. For this one, let's go to Adjustment Layers. Again, the little half circle right here. And let's go to Vibrance. Click on Vibrance. You'll see a new layer has been created right here. And now let's adjust the vibrance of this one to make it a little bit more colorful. If I drag the vibrance up, you can see the image is getting more colorful, more blue, more green. But again, it created its own layer, so I have not permanently changed the image itself. Good. Let's do the same thing with Vibrance 02, except we're going to turn the color down. So let's go to Adjustment Layer, Vibrance, and let's turn it down to the left. You can see it's taking away the vibrance. So I've changed this image. However, again, it is its own layer. No permanent damage has been done. This is called, again, non-destructive editing because you don't want to destroy any layers or cause any permanent damage. All right. Next one we're going to do is we're going to go to Hue 01. Go to this one up here. And remember, if you can't see it, go to these arrows and look for that Hue 1 right there. This one, we're going to create a hue saturation layer, and we're going to change the color of the sweater right here. So let's go to our adjustment layers, go to hue/saturation, and if you see hue means the color. So this is the default color. If you take this hue slider and you mess with it, you can drag it around. You can change the colors of your image just like that. So take this red sweater and make it a different color. Put whatever color you want. Make it pink, purple, blue, green, whatever you feel like. Let's go with this teal. I like this teal one right here. This is how they change the images in, let's say, Amazon. You know, when you go on Amazon and you're like, oh, I see this red sweater. And they go, what other colors does it have? Oh, it comes in pink, and it comes in blue, and it comes in teal. That is exactly how they do it. All they do is take the same image. That's why they all look exactly the same. And they just change the hue for each one and say, oh, we also have it available in green. So change the color, and that's all I want you to do. Remember, everything is non-destructively being edited. Let's go to hue number 2. Do the same thing with this one. Change the color of these shoes so they're not green and purple anymore. adjustments, hue saturation, and just change this hue slider. Whatever color you want. Let us know what colors are available for this particular shoe. Good. See, now you're starting to get the hang of it and get the pattern. Let's go to selective 01 next. Let's go to here, selective 01. This is how we're going to change selective colors. So we're going to change the color of just one item and not everything. So in this one, I just had you change the overall hue, and it changed both of these sweaters because that's what we wanted to see. In this one, I'm going to only change one color. So, but we're going to go to the same adjustment layer. Go here, hue saturation. If I change the hue, it changes everything. See, right now it's on this master one, so it's changing all the colors that are on the screen. And just as a little tip, what I just did, if you move it and you want to set it back to 0, you can either click here and type 0, or you can double click on the slider. That resets it back to 0. What I want to do is only change the yellow one. I'm going to change just the yellow one, and that's it. And the way you can do that is go over here where it says master. Change it from master, which changes all the colors, to just a specific color. You see right here? Let's go to yellows. So now if I move this slider, it's only changing what it notices is a yellow color. So see, if I change this, now it's only doing that. Excellent. So change the yellow color to something else. Let's go with, I don't know, another blue or a green. I'm going to go with green. Let's say green. That's a good one. Again, this is its own layer. No permanent damage has been done. Let's go to selective 02, and I want you to do the same thing by changing the color of the green trash can. Do the same thing, but I'm not going to show you through. I want you to do it on your own. Add a hue saturation adjustment layer and only change the color of the green trash can, and that's it. We're going to do a couple more color changing, and then we'll be done with this project. Lastly, we're going to go to the black and white ones. Go to B&W 01. I'm going to show you how to add a black and white adjustment. So go back to the adjustment layers. This one we're going to do black and white. So this is something similar to what we did in Lightroom Classic, where we changed the filter by just putting a black and white. However, we can still change the intensity of the colors. You can see the colors are still here, yellow, blue, red, all these colors are still here. And even though it's black and white, you have these sliders. We can change the darkness and the brightness of those particular colors. So if I take the yellow one and I change it, it's still recognizing whatever's yellow in the picture, and I can make adjustments to it. So I can make this side a little bit brighter since it is yellow. Same thing with the reds and the blues. I can adjust it. Maybe I want the blues to be darker and look kind of like that. That looks cool. Adjust it however you want. Just mess around with the intensity. That's it. That is a black and white filter. And again, the original is untouched. Lastly, we're going to do something similar to black and white 02. We're not just going to change it. We're going to make it colorized, which means we're going to change it to one color. So right now it's mostly purple. I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. Let's go to adjustments, black and white. So same thing. However, you're going to check this box that says tint right here. See this box that says tint? Click on that. And then you'll see, notice by default, it turns into this tan color, but we can change that color with this one right here. Click on this square and we can pick a new color. So you can click around, you see how it's changing. I could change the slider over here if I want it to be green. So pick a single color that you want this basketball to be. Let's say I'm going to go with this one. You can change if it's a brighter one or a darker one by clicking around anywhere in here. And then you must click OK in order to go back. If I try to come back over here, it won't let me do anything because I have this panel still open. So click OK, and then it allows you to go back to editing this stuff. And those colors, again, are still there. Originally, it was pink and blue, which are still there, so I can adjust the intensity of the pink and blue that are still present in the photo. So I can adjust this. So just make it one solid color with that tint option, and then again, adjust the intensity to wherever you would like. Perfect. So you'll see each one that we've done, we've added these adjustment layers to prevent any permanent damage. That's the whole point of this project. This assignment is to learn how layers work, and again to edit non-destructively, so everything is still there exactly where it was. With these eyeballs, we can move things around. This will be the basis of all of your editing, by making sure your layers are in order and they're all protected so we don't cause any permanent damage to most of our images. So everything that you just did today, everything that you've edited, all of these, auto, the B&Ws, the hues, every single one of them, I want you to screenshot your window and then submit that to the assignment. So go to your snipping tool, new, and leave it on window, and then click each one to take a screenshot. So there's that one. Do it for each one of them. Take a screenshot of this one. Take a screenshot of every single one. All your fancy edits so I could see your panel right here. I want to see what this panel looks like to make sure you edit it correctly. And every single one of those screenshots is what you're going to turn in to the assignment. So do add or create and then upload your screenshots. Remember, your screenshots can be found in pictures. If you go to pictures, you'll see screenshots right here. Here's all the screenshots. Here's the ones I just took right here. So these are what you're uploading to the assignment. Okay? So again, this video is for you. Watch it at your own pace. Have fun. Let me know if you have any questions.